of course, we know you as an author as well. You've written many, many books. And guessing with all your experience, that's what led to Brendan Shanahan. I don't know if anyone's heard of him, but, personally appointing you to write the 100-year history of the Toronto Maple Leafs club book.
Yeah, Drake, sometimes you're blessed for whatever reason. So when I was working in the music industry, crazy story. I might as well tell it. So I've got two buddies of mine through the music industry who my best friends. We hang out. We used to go for dinner once a week. It's now 4 times a year because we're in relationships. We've got kids, all those sorts of things. Anyway, one year at Christmas time, we all got together. We all exchanged gifts, and they had this great big box of stuff. And they said, "Look, we've gone together for your Christmas gift this year, Kevin. So Merry Christmas to you." And I opened it up, and wow, I couldn't figure it out. It was pads of paper and pens and floppy disks, which kind of gives you a taste of the era, and a book called Writing for Dummies. And they said, "Look, every time we get together, you tell us 10 hockey stories that are unbelievable. You're going to write a book." I said, "Guys, I can't write a book." I had written columns. I had written for Windsor This Month magazine, long gone, and I'd written for the Essex Times, long gone, and things. And then in other cities that I was in, I had written too, and then all kinds of media releases and things. But I'd never written a book and never even thought about it before. I dreamt about writing for the Hockey News, maybe for People magazine, something like that. Yeah. Anyway, they motivated me, and I went to the library, and actually I went to a bookstore and looked down the spine of all the sports books to find out who the publishers were, put together a proposal, and sent it off to everybody. And crickets, nothing. Yeah, a couple rejections finally came in, and then out of nowhere, about maybe 2 months later, a publisher called me and said, "Look, we love your writing, we love your passion. We don't want your story, but we think you'd be good for a book that we've contracted. Would you be interested?" And through a long process, well, not a long process, through a process of a lunch and getting to know the subject, I was hired on to write my first book. And it was about the Smythe family, Conn Smythe, who owned the Leafs, Stafford Smythe, who later owned the Leafs as well, and the grandson who was supposed to take over the team, although Harold Ballard was able to get it once Stafford Smythe passed away. So 3 generations of Smythes, and I wrote my first book, and it opened the doors to all kinds of things. So just this week, I put book number 18 to bed, and it'll come out next fall, and we'll go from there. But it's one of those passions again. Is there's money in it for sure, but when you think of the amount of work in researching, let alone writing, the interview process, my wife laughs and says, "You're probably making pennies per hour." Doesn't matter. My little oasis of what I love to do is research and write books. And as I said, number 18 coming out. I'm actually just finished number 19 yet, just waiting to find a publisher for that one. So fun stuff.
Yeah, absolutely. So it's the passion, obviously, that drives you. But like, was Shanahan familiar with your work and stuff like that? Or like,
sorry, I forgot you mentioned that. Pardon me, Drake.
No worries.
Yeah, he was. So it was interesting. So I pitched it to a pub. So I knew that the Centennial was coming up in 2017.
Yeah.
And I thought, look, at every author who's savvy at all is going to be chasing after a Leaf book.
Oh yeah.
So 5 years beforehand, I pitched it to publishers, thinking that if I can get in before everybody else, I've got a good chance. And I heard from a lot of them, and they would all say, "Is it the official book?" I said, "Well, at this point, not necessarily, but I mean, I'm trying to find a deal first, and then we'll find out." So Random House, I'm trying to think of the McClellan and Stewart, pardon me, which is under the Random House umbrella, came forward and said, "If you can get the official status, we'll publish the book." All right, here we go. So I had written about Ron Ellis, who had played with the Leafs in the 60s and 70s. I'd written about their oldest season ticket holder, a guy named Tommy Gaston, who had season tickets with the Leafs since the late 1920s. I had written about Bill Barilko, the Stanley Cup champion of 1951, who died in a plane crash. I'm trying to think what else. And a number of magazine articles and a number of stories for the Hockey Hall of Fame and things of that sort. So when it came down to it, The publisher and I went into McClellan and Stewart and gave the pitch. And they said they wanted to go away and think about it. And I know that they talked to a number of authors, but they came back and I got the message from Brendan Shanahan that said, nobody else could write the Centennial of the Toronto Maple Leafs. Congratulations, Kevin, you're our guy. Well, I could have been knocked over with a feather break. It was crazy just to think that I got the book. And that was over a course of about 2 years as well. So we were coming up to the Centennial at that point, but I had already started writing it in anticipation that if I got the book, I better be ready. I didn't want to get it a year beforehand and then have to jam and put together a good book, but not a great book. And so on we went. I was just so flattered, shook his hand. We made our deal, signed with the publisher, with Brendan writing the foreword, and off we went. They put a committee together at Maple Leaf Sports and Entertainment, and we made all of our plans. And I had to submit chapters as we went along, but I got the double thumbs up with every step of the way. And